is just a quick demo of the query library, following the good example of Anthony, who did this also for some of the developments he did for Atlas. Um, the query library, the idea of the query library is just to make available queries to the OMO community that are often used. And I know a lot of people are thinking about how to do, how to get all the ancestors of a concept, etc. And especially during training, I believe it's very interesting to have a tool like this so we can point to certain queries and have people look at them and try to understand them and even run them against a test database. So what I did is I started off with the OMO queries tool, or actually the GitHub repository that contained some of the markdown files copied in from the OMO website. And I built a Shiny app around that that you see here. I just want to talk you through the app a little bit and ask for some feedback. Um, so what you see here is a list of queries that's automatically extracted from the queries folder. In that folder, there are markdown files, and the markdown files have some tags in there, and the tags are shown in the table. So there's a tag on group, tag on the name of the query, CDM version, there can be multiple versions, and the author, and I just put in Patrick here just as a default. So you can, of course, search here. You can say, I want to see things related to general queries and filter on that, like in all the normal DT tables. Just as an example, when you click on one of these, you will see the original Markdown file that's there. And I didn't change anything in the Markdown files yet, so that's something to discuss on what should be in there and in what order. But most importantly now is the query that's there, and you see it's well, showing the query here nicely, but it's also rendering the query to the vocab schema and CDM schema that I filled into the configuration section. So there's a configuration tab here where you can load and save your own configurations to your server. So I have a connection to an Azure database that I can load here. I can test the connection, and it will should show, yeah, there's a connection is successful. And now what you see is that it changed the query on the right automatically to the SIMPAF schema, because that's what I have for my Azure database. So it's auto rendering this to both the dialect, but also to the schemas and doing the rendering. What's nice is you can also re-execute this query in the execute tab, so you can import the selected query and then run that against your CDN. So I'm now running this query against my Azure database in the cloud, which is pretty fast. But I can copy the query and I can save the query. As you saw, if you have no query there, these things are blocked. There's some handling of errors. So if you type, or if you, for example, import something and the schema is not right, you try to run it, it will give you an error message here that you can click away and continue, so it will not crash. It will save an error report in the folder. And what's also nice, I think, is that for longer queries, so for example, the general one, and I take this ancestor one. If I import that one, I run it, it will show here the time that it's running, and this will run about 10 seconds and will then give the results. So a couple of questions for you guys is, first of all, what do you think of the app in general? But also give some feedback on what we should put here on the right. So this is now just copy paste from what was already there at the OMO website. So there's a description, there is a query, and there's a table with input parameters, and those are used as an example. So in this case, we are looking at the ancestors of GI here. And there was originally like a sysdate variable, which I probably think we should remove. I had to change that in all the queries to get date, otherwise they wouldn't run. And there are some output variables, which is the output table, which should be a little bit nicer here with a wider column. but that describes the meaning of the result columns. And then there's a link to the wiki, which is probably not needed on every page. Um, so the first thing is I want to extend this, of course, with all the queries that were out there. There were a whole list of all the different domains, and we are adding them now and also running them all within the tool to make sure that they still run. But there may be some updates needed for these queries because we now do it faster or better. So I need to have some people that help out with checking these queries and maybe also proposing other queries that we want to add here in the tool. Um, in the Markdown, there are tags, so you can, and those are not shown in the Markdown itself because they are in a command field that I parse. So there you can say this CDM, this query works for CDM 5 or above 5, and we need to think a little bit on how to handle that. Or maybe 5 till 6, and then it doesn't work anymore, or we throw them away if they don't work on the latest CDM. So things to decide on. The author, I just put it in here. I think it's nice if somebody proposes a new query and it gets approved by someone and added to the tool that the person is still the owner of that specific query. Also for questions, that may be nice. To get new queries in the tool, we need to think about that as well, how we do that. So a proposal could be that a person can post a question in the issue tracker on the GitHub, and we evaluate and maybe give the answer to how to do that specific query, and then add that in the library so people can just update the package and get a new set of queries or the latest versions of the queries. Another one feature that I was thinking about, but I'm not sure whether I want to put effort in it, is to allow like a user folder so people can have their own queries outside of the ones that are available from the app. But that may be something, well, we can do, but I'd like to know what you think about that. And that's about it. I don't want to make this more complex than it is. I think this is already nice also for us, for example, internally to run this on our internal machine. If people want to run something or have a question, they should be able to find a query in the library. If not, we will add them so not everybody is thinking about the same things. So thanks, and I'm curious about your feedback.